Pericardium is the protective layer and it covers the whole heart plus the great vessels of the heart. This pericardium again is divided into two more layers. We can say the pericardium itself splits into two more layers. What are these two layers? Number one is the fibrous pericardium and number two is the serous pericardium. We have the fibrous pericardium. The first layer, the first external layer of the pericardium is termed as fibrous pericardium and it is made up of purely the fibers. The second layer is the serous pericardium. The fibrous pericardium covers the whole, it envelops the whole heart plus the great vessels. What are these great vessels? The superior vena cava, ascending aorta and the pulmonary trunk. This whole is also enveloped by the fibrous pericardium. Okay, superior vena cava. Now, regarding the inferior vena cava, we will discuss in detail where the inferior vena cava opens in which chamber of the heart. That is not covered by the fibrous pericardium because this inferior vena cava enters by passing through the central tendon of the diaphragm. So this fibrous pericardium covers the whole heart plus the superior vena cava, ascending aorta and the pulmonary trunk. Now the second layer of the pericardium, I told you the pericardium is divided into two main parts, serous pericardium. This serous pericardium again splits into two more layers, parietal layer and the visceral layers. Number one, fibrous pericardium, outermost layer of the heart. Number two, serous pericardium. We have two types of pericardium, fibrous and the serous pericardium. Serous pericardium again divides into the parietal layer and the visceral layer. This parietal layer over there, this parietal layer is just beneath the fibrous pericardium. So we can say the fibrous pericardium is adherent to the parietal layer of the serous pericardium. And then finally we have the visceral layer of the serous pericardium. This visceral layer is directly adherent to the heart. So the innermost layer of the pericardium of the serous pericardium is the visceral layer and it is also termed as epicardium. Now again pericardium is divided into two more layers, fibrous pericardium which envelopes or encloses the whole heart plus the great vessels and the serous pericardium. This serous pericardium again splits into two layers, parietal layer and the visceral layer. The parietal layer, here we have the parietal layer and between the visceral layer there is a small potential space present. That space is filled with the pericardial fluid and it is termed as pericardial cavity. Where this space is present between the two layers of the serous pericardium, between the parietal layer and the visceral layer, which can also be termed as epicardium. And this space, potential space, add-on space is called pericardial cavity. It contains ultrafiltrate plasma, that is the fluid, and it is a small potential space. It contains 20 to 50 ml of the fluid, pericardial fluid. Now the pericardial, again this is a slide showing the fibrous pericardium. The both parietal and the visceral layer of the serous pericardium, that is also termed as epicardium. Look at this slide. Number one, the first layer, that is the fibrous pericardium. This visceral layer of the serous pericardium, that is also termed as epicardium, is made up of mesothelial layers. Mesothelial cells are present over there and it will form the outermost layer of the heart wall. Heart wall consists of three main layers: epicardium, myocardium and the endocardium. Then we have finally the chambers of the heart. First, the whole heart covered by the pericardium. Pericardium is simply the protective layer, protective covering. it splits into two more layers, fibrous layer and the serous layer. Serous layer again splits into the epicardium, visceral layer and the parietal pericardium. Epicardium will form the heart wall. Heart wall consists of three layers again. When we visualize, when we get a section and when we make a slide, or when we see with the high magnifying power, we can see that the heart wall consists of three layers. The first layer of the heart wall, now we are approaching to the wall of the heart, epicardium, that is made up of mesothelial cells. Then we have the myocardium, purely made up of cardiac muscles, cardiac muscle fibers. And finally, we have the endocardium. This endocardium is made up of endothelial cells. Endothelial cells are present in the epicardium. So the heart wall consists of epicardium, myocardium, endocardium. Then we have the chambers, four chambers, two atria and the two ventricles. Two are the receiving and two are the discharging chambers of the heart. First the epicardium, then the heart wall, then the chambers of the heart. Now this, due to these two layers of the pericardium, that is the serous and the fibrous pericardium, during the development of the heart tube, the movement of the primordial heart tube, we will discuss in detail in the development of the heart. There is rotation, and due to the reflection of this, two sinuses appears. They are simply termed transverse pericardial sinus and the oblique pericardial sinus. What happened during the development when the venous structures expand and the lungs expand, two types of tubes will appear. Two tubal ends will form. One is the arterial end and one is the venous end. This is called the arterial end, aorta, ascending aorta, and one is the venous end. Four pulmonary veins, a superior vena cava, they both will set on the same plane, and they create two planes of the tubes, venous tube and the arterial tube. When the heart was in developmental stage, just remember, two tubes are formed when the heart was moving and there is movement of the primordial heart, venous tube, venous end and the arterial end. Between these two ends, a passage created in the pericardial cavity. This passage is called, due to reflection of these visceral and the pericardial parietal pericardium, a passage created, and this passage is called transverse pericardial sinus. Another passage appears, that is called the oblique pericardial sinus. Now come to the transverse pericardial sinus. You can see in this slide an arrow showing the transverse pericardial sinus. This is the transverse pericardial, a passage between the arterial and the venous tube, aorta and the superior vena cava. There is a small passage, and this transverse pericardial sinus lies anterior to the superior vena cava and posterior to the ascending aorta. It is just a gap to separate the arterial and venous tube, and it is present in the pericardium. This transverse pericardial sinus, and it has a clinical significance. We will discuss in later slides. Transverse pericardial sinus. Another sinus which develops due to reflection of these two layers of the pericardium during the development of heart, that is the oblique pericardial sinus, and it is located just posterior to the heart. The whole heart is covered by pericardium, and due to reflection of these two layers, a small passage appears and it runs obliquely. This is called the oblique pericardial sinus. It lies posterior to the heart in the pericardial sac. What is this pericardial cavity? We told, look in these slides. This hole is the pericardium, the heart lying in the middle mediastinum, and then it rests on the diaphragm with the help of the base. We will discuss in detail the borders and surfaces of the heart. This is the base of the heart that rests on the diaphragm. Here we have the oblique pericardial sinus. At the posterior surface of the heart, there is a passage in the pericardial cavity, in the pericardial layers, that is called the oblique pericardial sinus. This is a well-defined slide. Moving to the next slide. This is the oblique sinus, the whole heart covered by pericardium, and this is the passage. We can insert our fingers over there, the small passage over there at the posterior end of the just posterior to the heart. This is called the oblique sinus. So we have two sinuses, transverse sinus and the oblique sinus. This is the transverse pericardial sinus. Oblique sinus will lie over there after dissection of the heart. When the heart will be removed posteriorly, there is the oblique pericardial sinus. These are the two tubes, arterial tube and the venous tube. So pia vena cava, and this is the venous tubes. These are the arterial tubes. Now the pericardial sinuses, horizontal gap between these tubes, that is termed as transverse pericardial sinus, and oblique sinus, that is situated just posterior to the heart, and they are present between the arterial and the venous tube. You will better understand this after you will understand when you will read the development of the heart, development of the primordial heart tube, how the two tubes are formed, arterial tube and the venous tube, and due to reflection of these tubes, due to reflection of the pericardium, these two sinuses, they are simply the passages that appear in the pericardium. Now the blood supply of the pericardium. Pericardicophrenic artery is a small cylinder artery, and it is a branch of the internal thoracic artery. This will supply the whole pericardium. Terminal branch of internal thoracic artery, musculophrenic artery, will also supply the pericardium. Bronchial, esophageal and superior phrenic arteries, these are the branches of descending thoracic aorta. They will supply the pericardium, plus the coronary arteries. So what are these branches? Pericardicophrenic artery, that is a branch of internal thoracic artery. Musculophrenic artery, branch of internal thoracic artery. Esophageal, bronchial and superior phrenic arteries, these are branches of internal descending thoracic aorta, and the coronary arteries. They all will supply the pericardium. Venous drainage of the pericardium, pericardicophrenic veins that will drain into the internal thoracic vein. Tributaries of the azygous vein. Nerve supply, pure sensory sensation, pure source of sensory supply. Pain supplies from phrenic nerve. C3 to C5 will supply the pericardium. So what we discussed in our pericardium, regarding the pericardium, pericardium is simply the protective layer. Functions of the pericardium is to stabilize the heart in the thoracic cavity by virtue of its ligamentous attachment to the sternum. And what are these ligaments which attach heart to the sternum? We discussed in our thorax also. These are the sternopericardial ligaments. It also provides pericardial fluid. Pericardial space pericardial cavity contains the pericardial fluid. So the pericardium, it also provides a friction-free space for the heart to expand. It limits the heart for excessive dilatation. These are the functions or main importance of the pericardium. Now come to the heart. Just have a look on this heart, having the four chambers, right atrium and right ventricle. Then we have the left atrium and the left ventricle, and these are the great vessels. This whole heart is present in our middle mediastinum, covered by the pericardium, and it lies between the two lungs, posterior to the sternum and anterior to the vertebral column. Apex of heart always directed downwards and to the left. This is called the apex of heart. It always directed downwards and to the left. This is the apex of the heart. Now this heart, that is the self-adjusting suction pump, and it is a muscular heart wall, consists of again three main layers: epicardium, myocardium, uh, and the endocardium. It is divided into four chambers. This is the location of the heart, how it occupies the whole rib cage or the thoracic cavity, and the base of the heart that lies on the diaphragm, central tendon of the diaphragm. We can say that the heart is at the vertebral level T5 to T8. Thoracic vertebral level for the heart is T5 to T8, and obliquely from second to fifth intercostal space. When we can trace the heart from second to fifth intercostal space, and the thoracic vertebral level is T5 to T8. This is the anatomical position or location of the heart. These are the slides showing the how the heart occupies the whole thoracic cavity and how it appears. It extends from T5 to T8 and the intercostal spaces. Now the heart left side, the right side of the heart receives the deoxygenated blood, and after from both the superior, this is called from both the superior and the inferior vena cava plus the coronary sinus, it receives the right side of the heart, the deoxygenated blood, and then it right atrium first chamber of the heart is the right atrium, and then it goes into the right ventricle and finally into the lungs where oxygenation occurs. Then from the right ventricle to the lungs, from the lungs it will drain into the left atrium, and from the left atrium it will goes into the left ventricle. From the left ventricle it will distribute it through the aorta to the rest of the body. Now the heart having four chambers, right and left atria and the right and left ventricle. This is the right atrium, left atrium, right ventricle, left ventricle. Okay. Atria are the receiving chambers, it receives the blood and then the whole blood is distributed throughout the body with the help of the ventricle, left ventricle. Now, between these atria and the ventricles, valves are also present called the atrioventricular valves. Two types of valves, semilunar valves and the atrioventricular valves, we will discuss in detail. This is a slide showing the right atrium and opening of the superior and inferior vena cava in the right atrium. So the right atrium receives blood. This is the receiving chamber from the superior and the inferior vena cava, and then the blood goes into the right ventricle with the help of a valve that is called the tricuspid valve. Atrioventricular valve. Atrioventricular valve, what are these valves? These valves are present between the atria and the ventricle. They are simply termed atrioventricular valves or the AV valve. And these are two in number, tricuspid valve and the bicuspid valve. Tricuspid valve located between the right atrium and the right ventricle, bicuspid valve located between the left atrium and the left ventricle, also called the mitral valve. Now the heart wall, I told you epicardium, myocardium and the endocardium. Epicardium is the visceral layer of the serous pericardium, myocardium is made up of cardiac tissue, and then we have the endocardium, purely made up of the endothelial cells. This is a slide again showing the pericardial cavity, pericardium, epicardium, myocardium. Now the borders of the heart, the gross anatomy of the heart. The borders of the heart having four borders, right border, left border, superior and the inferior border. Come to the right border. This is a slide showing the right border of the heart. This is called the right border of the heart, and it is in line with the superior and the inferior vena cava. When you will go in your museum when you will study through models, you can easily identify which is the right border of the heart. This is the right border of the heart that is in line with the superior and inferior vena cava, and it is formed by the right atrium and the small part by the right ventricle. This is the right border of the heart, and it is also called, just remember, right border is also called the right pulmonary surface. Right pulmonary surface is also formed by both these things, right atrium and the right ventricle. Now come to the left border. This is called the left border. It is mainly formed by the left ventricle. Left ventricle and a small part of the left auricle. I will tell you what is the auricle. Now the superior border, this is the superior border and it is formed by the right atrium. Here we have the right atrium and the left atrium. Right and left atrium will form the superior border where the great vessels enters or exit the heart. This is the superior border of the heart. Now come to the inferior border. This is the inferior border through which it lies on the central tendon of the diaphragm. This inferior border is mainly formed by the left ventricle. Left ventricle will form the inferior border. So how many borders? Right border, left border, superior, inferior. Right, left, superior, inferior. This is the right border, this is the left border, this is the superior border and the inferior border. This whole heart is trapezoid in shape, having the surfaces as well, borders and surfaces, anterior surface, base and the inferior surface, right pulmonary surface and the left pulmonary surface. Right pulmonary surface is formed by same structures that will form the right border, and left pulmonary surface will be formed by same structures that will form the left border. Anterior surface, also called the sternocostal surface. Anterior surface, that is also termed as sternocostal surface. This whole is called the anterior surface, sternocostal surface, and it is formed mainly by the right ventricle. This is the anterior surface of the heart. Inferior surface or the diaphragmatic surface. Inferiorly, the heart lies over there, the central tendon of the diaphragm, and then the right and left dome of the diaphragm. The surface on which the heart rests is called the inferior surface or the diaphragmatic surface. This is the anterior or the sternocostal surface, inferior or the diaphragmatic surface. One more thing left. This is the apex. Apex is formed by left ventricle base. A base of heart is formed purely by the left atrium. Again, when we will move to the next slides, you will see where the base is formed. Just remember, base is formed by the left atrium. So two surfaces are there: anterior surface, inferior surface. Four surfaces total: right pulmonary surface and the left pulmonary surface, and four borders: superior, inferior border, right border and the left border of the heart. This is the apex of the heart, directed downwards, forwards and to the left. It lies in the level of at the level of fifth intercostal space. Auscultation of the heart, you can easily identify the apex of the heart at the level of fifth intercostal space, and it is mainly formed by the left ventricle. Now come to the base of the heart. The base of the heart is formed by the left atrium. This is called the base of the heart, mainly formed by the left atrium, where the pulmonary veins open. The four pulmonary veins, after carrying the oxygenated blood, opens and then it will goes into the left ventricle. This base lies opposite of the thoracic vertebrae, 5th to 7th. And this left atrium, there is a groove posteriorly, just inferior to the left atrium. What we call this groove? Called posterior coronary sulcus, posterior part of the coronary sulcus, and it lodges the coronary sinus. Just remember, there is a groove that is present anteriorly also and posteriorly also between the left atrium and the left ventricle. This whole groove is present between the atrium and the ventricle, and having the anterior part plus the posterior part. Here in this slide, it is shown the posterior part of the coronary sulcus. This is the groove, and from where the coronary sinus, as a big venous network, passes from this groove. Anteriorly also there is a groove present that is similarly termed anterior part of the coronary sulcus. between the atrium and the ventricle. Now the external features, you will repeat these external features. I'm in a speed because we have to cover this topic is very extensive. The external and internal features will be split in your tutorials as well for the reinforcement. The external features of the heart, the chambers of the heart, four chambers: right atrium, right ventricle, left atrium, and the left ventricle. Now come to the external features. Two, three important tricky points. The atrial wall, muscular wall, is always formed by a muscle that is termed musculi pectini. Whatever atrial wall, right atrium or the left atrium, they are formed by the muscle that is termed as musculi pectini. Similarly, the ventricular wall, the muscle present in the ventricular wall is termed trabeculi carni. Trabeculi carni. For atrial wall, the muscle, we use a term that is present inside the heart, chambers of the heart, musculi pectini. Okay, it was written over there, musculi pectini. Now come to the external features. Externally, the right atrium, it receives blood from three sources. What are these three sources? We can say question आ सकता है उसमें भी आपकी BCQs में भी name the openings that are present in the right atrium of the heart. Superior vena cava, inferior vena cava, and the coronary sinus. And this right atrium externally contains a small extra additional space. These are external features. We can easily visualize externally as well. That is called the right auricle. Right auricle is an extra add-on space that is present in the right atrium. Okay, external features में we have the right auricle, opening of the superior vena cava, inferior vena cava, and the coronary sinus. Now come to the internal features. Internal features, all the chambers of the heart having one smooth part and one rough part. Keep this in your mind. All the chambers are one smooth part and rough part. Rough part is always formed by the muscle, and for the atrium, the muscle is called the musculi pectini. And the posterior wall, that posterior wall is simply termed sinus venarium. Two parts internally are present in the right atrium, chamber of the right atrium, sinus venarium and the musculi pectini. Between the right atrium and right ventricle, I told you valves are present. They are simply termed atrioventricular valve, tricuspid valve. Right AV orifice is there. Just have a look in this slide. Opening of the superior vena cava, inferior vena cava, and a coronary sinus in the right atrium. Then there is a valve, tricuspid AV valve is present between the right atrium and the right ventricle. This right external features. This right atrium contains additional structure that is called the right auricle. There is demarcation. This is the posterior wall is termed sinus venarium and the anterior wall is muscular part and is termed musculi pectini. This is the right atrium, opening of the superior and inferior vena cava. जब इसको dissect किया, here we have the anterior wall that is formed by the musculi pectini. This is the muscularis part, anterior wall. When we open this, when we dissect this, ये सब internal features हैं musculi pectini. Then there is a smooth wall part. This smooth wall part is called sinus venarium and it contains opening of the superior vena cava, inferior vena cava, plus the coronary sinus. Now this demarcation between the smooth wall and the rough wall part was done by a small fibrous line that is called crista terminalis. Crista terminalis and the sulcus terminalis. Two terms are used for this, crista and the sulcus terminalis. Sulcus terminalis is simply the external demarcation between the anterior rough wall of the right atrium and crista terminalis is the internal demarcation. अंदर बाहर से जो small oblique line runs, that is simply called the sulcus terminalis, and from inside when we open the auricle there is again a fibrous oblique line that demarcates the anterior wall and posterior wall from the sinus venarium to the musculi pectini, that is simply called the crista terminalis. Okay, now the between right atrium, similarly the left atrium again contains, the left atrium also contains the smooth wall part and the rough wall part. Rough wall part is always formed by the musculi pectini. For the ventricles are the discharging chambers. One right ventricle, blood will goes to the lungs, and on the left side, left ventricle, blood will goes through the aorta to the rest of the body. Muscles for the ventricular wall, trabeculae carni, and the papillary muscles make the ventricular walls. For the ventricular walls, two specific muscles, these are the trabecular carni and the papillary muscles. Ventricles, now both atria and both ventricles, right atrium, right ventricle, and the left atrium, left ventricle, right? They separated by the interventricular septum. Two ventricles are separated by the interventricular septum, and similarly two atria are separated by the interatrial septum. Between the right atrium and the left atrium there is interatrial septum. What is this septum? Septum is a broad band made up of fibrous tissue plus the muscular tissue, and it is present between the two atrias as well as between the two ventricles, interventricular septum. Right ventricle pumps blood into the pulmonary trunk. From the right ventricle, right atrium, we discussed in detail the external features and the internal features. The right ventricle, the blood goes into the pulmonary trunk, and from the left ventricle it will goes into the aorta. Right ventricle. Now come to the right ventricle. Right ventricle again smooth wall part and the rough wall part, and it is also called inflow and the outflow part. Muscular part, the rough part, also called the inflow part, and the smooth part also called conus arteriosus, or the outflow part, from where the blood will goes to the coronary trunk. It will lead to the coronary trunk. Okay, right ventricle, in internal features of the right ventricle, we have the muscular part, and for the ventricle we use the term trabeculae carni and the papillary muscles. Musculi pectini for the atrial wall muscles, and outflow part, that is called the smooth part, conus arteriosus. Now, two things, supraventricular crest is present between these two, muscular part and the smooth wall part, trabeculae carni. What is this trabeculae carni? The atrioventricular valve we discussed, between the atria and the ventricle, two valves are present. On the right side, we have the tricuspid valve, and on the left side, we have the bicuspid valve. These valves have the cusp. Three cusps are present on the right side and two cusps are present on the left side. These cusps are fibrous rings, and they are supported with special muscles called the cauda tendon. Another muscle that is present in the walls of the cauda tendon. These are fibrous ring-like skeleton that is present in the cusp of the atrioventricular wall. I will show you slides also. Papillary muscles, three papillary muscles are present in the right ventricle. These are conical projections that arises from the ventricular wall. Papillary muscles always stand for the ventricular wall. Musculi pectini always stands for the atrial wall. Sternocostal surface, anterior surface, we discussed in detail that there is a groove anteriorly and posteriorly between the atria and the ventricle. This is called the coronary sulcus or the coronary groove. The whole sternocostal anterior surface, that is formed mostly by the right atrium, mainly by the right atrium and the right ventricle, divided by a coronary groove. That groove, there is coronary groove, this whole sternocostal surface, and that groove divides the atria and the ventricle, and this anterior atrioventricular groove, we discussed the posterior ventricular groove. Now there is another groove that is called the anterior interventricular groove. Anterior interventricular groove, that is present between the two ventricles, right atrium and the right ventricle. You can see in this slide anterior interventricular groove, and it lodges the anterior interventricular artery plus the great cardiac vein. This will be revised in the blood supply of the heart as well. There is a groove that is present between the atria and the ventricle. Coronary sulcus we discussed. Then there is another groove, anterior interventricular groove, coronary groove, that simply divides the atria and the ventricle. Anterior interventricular groove between the two ventricles, and what two structures are present in this? Great cardiac vein runs through this, and the anterior interventricular artery runs through this. The coronary groove lodges the right coronary artery, and where this coronary groove is present, this coronary groove is present between the atria and the ventricle, and mainly on the anterior surface of the heart, that is also termed as sternocostal surface. We have the inferior surface also, that is called the diaphragmatic surface, and a base that is called the, that is formed mainly by the left atrium. Now we have the जल्दी जल्दी जाएंगे बहुत सारी चीजें. Posterior interventricular groove. This posterior interventricular groove will lodge the posterior interventricular artery, posteriorly present. Here we have the posterior interventricular groove, and it lodges the posterior interventricular artery plus the middle cardiac vein. Left atrium you can see in this slide, forming the base of the heart. Right atrium receives the superior vena cava, inferior vena cava, coronary sinus. Interatrial septum, interventricular septum between the two ventricles. Interatrial septum. Left atrium में again smooth part and the rough part. Atrium, for atrium we use the term pectinate muscles. Pulmonary vein enters the left atrium, and then the blood goes into the lungs for oxygenation. Smooth walled part will lead for the pulmonary vein. The smooth part is occupied by the pulmonary veins, and the rough part is occupied by the pectinate muscle.
Excuse me.
The left atrium, yes.
Miss, sorry to interrupt you, Miss, मगर it's too much for us to digest, Miss. नहीं हो रहा.
Listen, what's your name?
Zafar, Miss Zafar.
Zafar, just listen carefully. There are two more slots for this, the external and internal features of the heart. Okay? So that you will reinforce for your reinforcement and revision of this. It is very difficult to cover this huge extensive topic in only 40 to 45 minutes. Okay? Just listen carefully, and when you will go through this in next class, there is tutorial for the external features of the heart. Inshallah, you will get your point. Okay? Inshallah, you will understand more clearly.
Okay, Miss.
Left ventricle, two more slots are for this external and internal features of the heart. It's just a review for the how the heart occupied the middle mediastinum, and for the terms, so that you will be familiar and it will become easier for you for the remaining classes. Left ventricle, that will form the apex of the heart. Again, for ventricles, a term used that is called the trabecular carni, smooth walled part, non-muscular outflow part. For the left ventricle, we use the term aortic vestibule. Sinus venarium, we use the term, when you remember there. Here we have the aortic vestibule, and it will lead to the aortic orifice. Now the left ventricle, between the left atrium and the left ventricle, two cusp valve is present, that is called the mitral valve. इतना तो memorize कर सकते हैं कि right side पे कौन से थे, tricuspid valve थे, तीन cusp होते हैं. How these cusps are formed? These cusps are simply formed by fibrous ring, and they are adherent to a muscle. That muscle are termed chorda tendini, and these chorda tendini again attached to another muscle, conical muscular projections called papillary muscles. These papillary muscles are 3 in number on the right side, and they arises from the ventricular wall. Abhi slides mein. This is a slide, well-defined slide showing the chorda tendini, how they are attached, and they are adherent to the papillary muscles, and they help to form the valves of the heart. Bicuspid and the they anchors the bicuspid and the tricuspid valves of the heart. Atrioventricular valves. Then we have the seminal valves also. Regarding the interatrial septum and the interventricular septum consists of two parts, muscular part and the membranous part. 2/3 part is muscular part and 1/3 part is the membranous part. This is a slide showing the interatrial septum. Interatrial septum कहाँ पे होता है? Where it is located between the two atria. Or how it is formed? Muscular part and the membranous part. Muscular part 2/3 part, membranous part only the 1/3 part. Heart valves we discuss. Atrioventricular valves, two types, semilunar and the atrioventricular valves. Atrioventricular valves lies between the atria and the ventricles. Cauda tendini muscle, this is the muscle types of muscle that anchors and supports these atrioventricular valves that are attached to the papillary muscles. And where these papillary muscles are present, these papillary muscles arise from the ventricular wall. Semilunar valves, how many semilunar valves do you have? The pulmonary and the aortic valve.
मिस
Yes.
मिस ये जो
Yes.
आपने लेफ्ट वेंट्रिकल के नाम बताए थे, ट्रेब्यूक्युली, कॉर्नी, और मिस ये बता दें कौन कौन सा नाम का कौन कौन सी जगह का है?
Musculi pectini will form the muscular wall of both atria, right and left atrium. Okay, getting my point? Trabeculae carni, and that is a term, trabeculae carni, they will form the muscular wall of both ventricles. In the ventricles, two more types of muscles are present, that is the papillary muscles. These papillary muscles, simply just learn, just memorize, they arise from the ventricular wall. Papillary muscles also arises from the ventricular wall and they attach to the chorda tendini. Now, what is this chorda tendini? This chorda tendini is simply a structure that anchors or supports the cusp of the AV valves. And you know about the AV valves, atrioventricular valves that are present between the atrium and the ventricles. Now come to the semilunar valves. Semilunar valves, they prevent backflow of blood. Difference between the atrioventricular and the semilunar valves having no chorda tendini. Okay? Aortic semilunar valves lies between the ventricle, left ventricle and the aorta. And these pulmonary semilunar valves lies between the right ventricle and the pulmonary trunk. Pulmonary trunk से blood कहाँ जाता है? Then it goes into the lung for oxygenation. And finally the blood comes again into the left ventricle by the help of 4 pulmonary veins. This is the start of the module. Day by day you will increase your knowledge.
मिस बस एक और चीज थी, जो कोरोनरी सल्कस जो था वो सिर्फ लेफ्ट पार्ट का एक्सक्लूसिवली पार्ट था या फिर राइट में भी था वो?
Coronary sulcus is present between the atria and the ventricles, and it is present anteriorly as well as posteriorly. Now, the major vessels of the heart, when somebody will ask with you question, major vessels कौन से? Superior vena cava, inferior vena cava, right and left pulmonary veins. Pulmonary veins कहाँ पे open होंगी? Left ventricle में. Pulmonary trunk कहाँ पे open हो रहा है? Conus arteriosus मैंने बताया था, smooth wall part that is present in the right ventricle. These are the major vessels. Vessels conveying blood from the heart, pulmonary trunk, and through the ascending aorta. The blood is distributed to the whole body. Now the clinical aspects, pericarditis and pericardial effusion. The pericardial cavity, a small space, potential space that is present between the visceral and the parietal layer of the serous pericardium. Inflammation of this space is simply termed pericardial effusion. Now, leakage of fluid from pericardial capillaries into the pericardial cavity, accumulation of fluid, it can lead to two causes are there for the pericardial effusion, inflammatory causes and the non-inflammatory causes, accumulation of pus, or it can be due to some other congestive heart disease, it can lead to the pericardial effusion. Pericardial effusion is simply the inflammation of the pericardium. How we can drain this pericardial effusion? We can use the left fifth intercostal space for draining this extra fluid in the pericardial cavity. Left fifth intercostal space. Cardiac tamponade. This is the term when there is extensive pericardial effusion, extensive extra fluid in the pericardial cavity. 10 to 50 ml is normal amount of fluid that is present in the pericardial cavity. If it becomes more for any reason, then the heart cannot extend or do their work properly, and what happened, it reduces cardiac output, discharge of blood to the whole body will be suffered, and that is called the cardiac tamponade. Now the clinical significance of transverse pericardial sinus, which we discussed in pericardial cavity. 2-3 slides are left. Then we will go to your questions. What happened? These are what I told you regarding the sinuses. They are simply the sinuses that appear during the development of primordial heart tube formation, and it lies transverse pericardial sinus, anterior to superior vena cava and posterior to the ascending aorta. During the surgery, the surgeons can use to differentiate between these two tubes. There is the venous tube or arterial tube, and they can easily apply a ligature over there. This is the most significant point, importance, clinical significance for regarding the transverse pericardial sinus. You can see in this slide, a finger can be easily passed through the passage between the arterial and venous tube, and that is the term transverse pericardial sinus. Septal defects, atrial septal defects and ventricular septal defects, these are present in the interatrial septum, and ventricular septal defect in the interventricular septum. Incomplete closure of the foramen ovale. What is this foramen ovale? There is fossa ovalis. One thing which I left to discuss, fossa ovalis is a depression in the interatrial septum normally present. If it is not closed, this is the remnant of foramen ovale. If it will not close, it will create the atrial septal defect. Left to right shunt develop, oxygenated blood goes from left atrium through this atrial septal defect. Ventricular septal defect, ventricle kya, interventricular septum between the atria and the ventricle, and it is formed by the membranous and the muscular part. Commonest part, membranous part, most commonly affected during the ventricular septal defect, and it is commonest site for defect. Pulmonary hypertension will develop and patient will go into the cardiac failure. This is the right atrium, blood which goes into the right ventricle. Here interatrial septum, and this is the slide showing the patent foramen ovale. Then right to left shunt will develop. This is a slide showing how the blood comes from the superior inferior vena cava into the right atrium. Then through the atrioventricular valve, it will goes into the right ventricle, and then from right ventricle it will goes into the lungs by the pulmonary trunk, and from here it enters into the right atrium by the help of 4 pulmonary veins, and from right atrium it will enter into the left atrium, it will enter into the left ventricle, and from left ventricle it will distribute it through the aorta to the rest of the body. Now echocardiography and the cardiac catheterization. What are these? Echocardiography, it is simply a method to record the position, motion and the circulation function of the heart by passing a beam of ultrasonic waves, echocardiography, and the circulatory function of the heart can be easily identified. Cardiac catheterization is another method in which a catheter, radiopaque substance is induced into the peripheral veins, and then it goes into the heart, and it can again visualize the circulatory function of the heart. These are 2 methods to see the function of the heart, how the heart is functioning. Now you are free to ask questions. Before saying this, I would like to say that 2 more slots are there for the external and internal features of heart, because it is very extensive topic. But I hope by this lecture you will be able to summarize important points. Yes, you are free to ask questions. Yes, yes.
मिस बुक बता दें.
KLM.
KLM. और मिस एक
PD पढ़ेंगे, बहुत कंफ्यूज हूँ।
अस्सलाम
मिस
वालेकुम मैम।
वालेकुम सलाम।
मैम ऑब्लिक साइनस जो है हार्ट के पोस्टीरियर साइड पर मौजूद है एंड इट इज लाइक अ गैप लाइक स्ट्रक्चर एंड यू टोल्ड दैट फिंगर्स कैन पास थ्रू इट। सो मैम अननेसेसरी थिंग्स भी तो
Fingers can pass through the transverse pericardial sinus. Surgeons mostly use transverse pericardial sinus to ligate, create a temporary ligate in that oblique pericardial sinus. Transverse pericardial sinus, there is a big passage, we can pass one or two fingers over there.
ओके मैम, लेकिन ऑब्लिक साइनस की इम्पोर्टेंस क्या है?
It can also be used to produce a ligature just present posteriorly.
वो भी ड्यूरिंग सर्जरी इसकी इम्पोर्टेंस है?
During surgery, only during surgery.
ओके, थैंक यू।
Any more question regarding the pericardium, pericardial fluid, pericardial effusion? Yes. Yes. Any more question, please? Tuba, yes. You want to ask something, Tuba?
मिस
Yes.
मिस नॉर्मल बॉडी फंक्शन में कोई साइनसेस का कोई फंक्शन नहीं है क्या?
किसका फंक्शन नहीं है?
साइनसेस जो है, मतलब जो दो साइनसेस थे हार्ट में.
Function में तो it is related to heart, na? Not for whole body. The sinuses, they are related and they are formed just during the development of the heart when there is reflection. These are the reflections of the pericardium. I have one video related to this sinuses. I will upload in Edmodo or I will provide you, inshallah.
ठीक है मिस, थैंक यू सो मच, दैट वाज इट.
Any more question, please?
Thank you so much, Dr. Time up हो गया.
Okay.
Time up हो गया.
Thank you.
Thank you. And thank you.